Right, so guys, we are currently on a Yamaha R7, and wow, this is very race position, very much so race position. I'm definitely not used to the position, that's for sure, but we will get used to it. This is out and out sport bike position, it definitely is. Oh man. It feels so thin too. Where are we going? It feels tiny compared to what I'm used to. It does definitely flick over very well. A little bit vibey now. I used to change gear, that's right. But yeah, I'm gripping the bike with my legs. Yeah, compared to the CBR 650, this is way more canted forward. But it's a very nice position. I would say, yeah, it's a very canted forward position, that is for sure. It's got plenty of mid-range though, like plenty of mid-range. This thing feels tiny, like it really does. Like my legs are so far off the ground, like it's a bit weird. Sounds good though, sounds good. It looks amazing. Like I absolutely love the way this thing looks. It's a nice sounding bike. It's a MT-07 CP2 engine. However, this feels nothing like an MT-07. Like absolutely nothing like an MT-07 at all. So yeah, the mirrors are in a weird place in terms of what I'm looking at behind me. That one especially, but they are easy to adjust. So very fun bike though. Like that, this engine is really fun. Had there been no truck coming, I would probably go past these, but there's two trucks coming. Can't see what's coming. You have very low to the ground on this. Handles so well, dude. Handles so well. Oh, this is a real nice sort of track oriented bike. I know a lot of people are going to say, yeah, but it's not an R6. Well, no, it isn't. But think about it. On an R6, you've got to be right in the top of the revs all the time. You'll be absolutely nailing it. off the limiters and stuff. Whereas on this, you don't actually have to, because all the revs and everything, the power it makes is lower down. So I would actually wager that this might actually be, especially for smaller tracks, windier, twistier tracks, this would be a better bike than the R6, potentially. However, I mean, if you want the best of the best at that level, the R6 is still there. You can buy a track-only pack or track-only bike from Yamaha themselves, so that's what I would possibly recommend doing if that be the case. It's a very quiet bike at idle though. Definitely very quiet at idle. I'm not really a fan of, I don't know, there's a lot of vibes at higher revs, but that could probably be sorted with heavier bear ends. Heavier bear ends would probably sort that, to be fair. I do like the sound of it though. I would say the seat is a little hard, but I think if you've got your weight where you're supposed to be, it'll be completely fine, because yeah, that bump was a little bit hard, but I mean, I'm used to a touring bike, so I kind of expected that. The one thing I will say is that if you're at least gripping the tank with your legs, it makes it a lot nicer. In terms of just being able to take some of the weight off your wrists. My bike, so I don't want someone hitting it. Open it up again. And brakes. Brakes are very, very good. Brakes are very, very good. I feel like there isn't a lot of room on this bike to move around for me. I'm 5'11". There's definitely a lot of onus on the rider here. Like, I know a lot more people could do this road a lot faster than me on this bike anyway. Like, don't get me wrong, it's fun. I'm just not used to that position yet. Definitely might be a good thing for a track, this bike, in terms of positioning and how easy it is to turn as well. Like, it's very easy to turn. It just falls into a turn, really. If you obviously lean enough, it will just fall into the turn. Very, very easy. And even at low speed, it's actually really nice. Okay. The acceleration is definitely there. This is a fun engine, man. It may not be a full pot screamer or whatever like the R6 is, but it is definitely a fun engine. Yeah, there's a lot of traffic on this road today, unfortunately. This would have been prime open it up territory, really. Are you gonna... What are you braking for? Is there a reason you're braking? Can't see what's coming, but... Not sure why, and I'm not going to get past these before the double lights, so I don't know what's going on here. Taking me that way, is it? This is interesting. Yeah, it definitely feels super sport, although the suspension's a little bit softer. Position is 100% super sport, it really is, but yeah. Not sure it's designed for these kind of roads, but here we are. Of course, he's going this way. Where are you going? I know you could go that way. He's gone the wrong way on the dual carriageway. One thing I can say is this bike is very, very planted in a turn.
So you join me in the office, and in all honesty, I just want to go through the specs of the Yamaha R7. I know I rambled a lot in this video, and it is first impressions and all the rest of it, but I wanted to give you guys a bit of a breakdown of the specs of the machine, which I was going to do a walk around, but in the heat and everything, it was 35 degrees. Yeah, it's no from me. I didn't want to stay out there and just get dehydrated and put me or the bike at risk. So yeah, let's jump right into the specs. So the engine size obviously is 689cc. It's a parallel twin CP2 engine from Yamaha themselves, obviously. The fuel capacity is 13 litres. The seat height is 835mm. However, the seat is quite thin, so it's quite easy to get your feet on the ground. The bike weighs 188 kilograms fully fueled. so wet. And the front suspension is a KYB 41mm fully adjustable fork or forks, and the rear suspension is a single shock that has adjustable preload and dampening. The front brake is two 298mm discs with 4 piston radial calipers, and the rear brake is a 245mm disc with a single piston. The front tyre is a 120/70 and the rear tyre is a 180/55. The maximum power or brake horsepower is 72 and the maximum torque is 49 foot-pounds of torque with the top speed of around 130 mph. But honestly, this anniversary edition absolutely blew me away with its looks. But let's jump on the bike again without further ado.
Honestly, glad to be back on the move. But yeah, I mean, I'm not even riding particularly fast, but I'm enjoying it nevertheless. And honestly, I think that's more important, is the enjoyment of the ride rather than just blatting it everywhere. But yeah, I can definitely see the appeal of it. And the more that I ride it, the more I like it, and the more I'm getting used to that position. But that engine is definitely a peach of an engine. So overall, my first impressions are that I really like it. If you like the sport bike position and you want something to learn your craft, I don't see an issue. It might scare you a little bit. But basically it's an MT-07, different sort of chassis, way more sport bike than sports. It's definite sport bike position, or super sport bike position, 100%. So, and in all honesty, it's a lot of fun to ride. And when you're looking at anything in the category that compares to it, the only one that is up there, really, like the CBR 650, yeah, I guess, like it's sort of similar, but that's not really a fair comparison, considering this is, you know, a twin. It's a cross-plane twin, but it's a twin. And the other thing is, this bike is very much so aimed at that super sport market rather than, although it's hard to tell where it's aimed really, because obviously super sports as they were are dying off, and that is like an obvious thing. That is something nobody can deny. Super sports in general just are starting to die off. So I think for the most part it's more about getting people into that progression of going to the R1 eventually, maybe. But again, the R6 like is completely discontinued now unless you buy a track version. So there is nothing to stop that gap between the R6 or the R3 and the R1. There's nothing in between. Now there's this, which I don't know. I think it's definitely a good gap. It definitely takes a bit of getting used to the engine when you're expecting, you know, having to rev the bollocks off it because it's a sport bike and it's a 4-cylinder engine. But no, with this, it's a sport bike, but it's a twin, and it really has a lot of punch and a lot of go. And you can get 140 mph out of it, supposedly, according to, you know, Wikipedia or whatever. So I don't know. For me, it's an enjoyable bike to ride. It's fun. It's different. I like it. My arms or my hands, my wrists are definitely in tatters.
0.6 miles, turn right.
But I blame that on more of me not being used to the sport bike position at all, having come from a 650R to a Trezor 9 GT to then this. It's definitely a big step towards super sport market, definitely. Like I said, it's a fun bike to ride, it's enjoyable, but like, man, my wrists are aching a lot right now. I do love the look of it, I love the sound of it. The livery on this thing is amazing. The finish, the fit and finish, I can't fault it by this like one wire that kind of gets in the way. That kind of gets in the way of the Speedo a little bit, but apart from that, like, that's the only downside I can really think of. Slipper clutch is nice, it's well balanced, it's well poised. On the road, there is definitely more comfortable bikes out there. For instance, CBR 650R. I don't know what the Aprilia's like to sit on or ride. But yeah, there's definitely more comfortable bikes out there, 100%. It doesn't have the same issues the Trezor 9 GT though with the fuel gauge. That is definitely something to consider.
In 0.3 miles, turn right onto the stop lane.
I was going to say, it's going to set me back that way, isn't it? Yeah, from here. I thought as much. But yeah, we're nearly at the end of the ride. Honestly, my first impressions are, this bike is very fun to ride, very easy to ride.
Turn right. Then, at the roundabout, take exit 1.
It definitely makes riding it fun. The engine is definitely a fun engine to... It sounds good too, people love it. The only thing is, like, the suspension definitely for track would need tightening up for sure.
At the roundabout, take exit 1.
But for riding around town and stuff, I think it is actually perfect, the suspension, so I wouldn't actually change it in that regard for that. I would definitely tighten it up if it was for track. I think it's a bit soft for the track. But I'm no expert. I haven't really been on many tracks, and when I did, it was on the Trezor. I didn't record any of it, so yeah, I mean, like, sat, you know, one hand on the handlebar and just cruising at 30 mile an hour.
You gain 1600 feet.
Absolutely, just ride it along, no issue, there's no problem. It's puttering along in third gear, not an issue. So honestly, like, I'm really liking this bike. I think, final thoughts there, it's a good beginner bike, it's a good everything. I think it is really a good all-rounder.
In 0.6 miles, at the roundabout, take exit 4.
It definitely is a little bit soft on the suspension side though for a sport bike, I think. But yeah, it's so planted. And it accelerates really nice. The acceleration's really nice, the engine's just an absolute peach and it handles so well. I can see where, you know, some of the other reviewers were saying like, oh, it wouldn't compete with the likes of an R7, R6 or whatever. But honestly, who cares?
Let's do it again soon.
And there is Yamaha R7. anniversary edition. Awesome.